DM, more like DM boy, we're going to make some really good looking dice today as we make Forge Cleric dice for my Dungeon Master. I'm also going to make him a dice box while I'm at it because I want him to like me and I want my character to last longer, and this is the easiest way that I can figure to make that happen. To do that, we're going to use this pre-made dice box mold and these cap molds that I've shown you how to make before. When I asked him what his favorite colors were, he said the same gray and red from the last gift video, and that doesn't help make good content, so thanks a lot for that, buddy. But he also said gold is okay, so I guess gold is going to be the main color of his dice in this video. We're going to take a small Q-tip with some gold mica powder and rub it on the inside of our silicone dice molds. It's actually the same process that we've done a lot before. It's called cold casting. We're going to put a very thin layer of mica powder on the edge of all of these silicone molds. The mica powder will stick to the silicone and give a nice golden shell where it will look gold, and wherever there is no gold, you'll still be able to see through to the pattern on the inside. Any excess mica powder can just be knocked back into the cup like we always do, and we can reuse it later. I'm not going to go buck wild with the mica powder here. I'm only putting it in small spots on each die mold. That way we can see through the pattern because I think the pattern is going to be the main focus of these dice. I'm also going to do it on the inside of the dice box molds. I was originally going to do some sort of symbol on the lid, but I realized I don't know any cool symbols, so I decided not to do that. And then when I started working on the hexagonal base, I realized, oh, I could make these cool lines that connect across from each other. Should have done that on the lid. Oh well, live and learn. I'm going to do it on all of the edges, and it's going to give us nice little windows on the base of the box here. But the top is going to have more gold, so it'll be harder to see through, which is good or bad depending on who you ask, I assume. I'm going to mix up some resin. I'm using Envirotex light resin, which is a 1:1 by volume mixture, so I mix 1:1 part A and part B and go ahead and stir those up. Now, I've had questions about this before. How do I know when it's done? Honestly, when your forearms start to hurt, you should probably mix it for about 5 minutes. But if you mix it and no longer see any streaks or cloudiness, just bubbles like this here, you can pretty much assume that that resin mixture is good to go and you can start pouring it. I'm going to add in little bits of my DIY bronze and black liquid glitter that I made before on this channel to give it kind of a bronze hue to it. It's not going to be very much at all, but if you do see any of the shiny flakes, I want them to be bronze colored. I'm going to pour off just a little bit of this resin because I'm going to dye it an entirely different color with this cadmium red alcohol ink. Whatever color you make this second batch, make it really saturated and powerful. I probably put 4 drops of alcohol ink in this 30 milliliter mixture here, and I'll show you why here in a bit, but let's go ahead and take our molds that we've opened up and put on wax or parchment paper to clean up the mess more easily, and we're going to completely fill up these molds with our clear yet glittery shiny resin because we're going to pretend that we're making transparent dice. Now, you could totally stop here if you just wanted transparent dice, but I want some swirls. So I'm not only going to overfill these, I'm going to put enough resin on the lids for when I turn them over to have resin spill out on the sides, and I'm going to fill up the entirety of the dice box molds with resin as well. Now, I mentioned swirls and really powerful colors. That's because if you have any transparent or translucent colors, you won't really see the swirls all that well. I'm going to fill up a pipette here with our colored resin, and I'm going to take my lighter to clear off any surface bubbles from the top of the resin molds, push my pipette down to the bottom, and as I pull the pipette up, move it in a jagged motion and exit or exhale, expel, whatever you want to say, get some of the resin out of the pipette. You can see here if you wait until your resin is a little thicker. I gave mine 10 minutes to just sit there. The resin won't actually move as you add a new pattern into it. So we can have these really cool ectoplasmic red swirls down in our dice. And as long as we don't touch them anymore, we'll have really awesome red swirly dice. You can see the process a little bit more easily here on the dice box as I move the pipette around. I'm constantly pushing on the tip of it so that more resin comes out and we're creating these cool little swirls. But as I move around on the clear resin, it will move the red swirls some more. So really, once you get the swirl that you're looking for or the kind of trail, you want to stop and leave it. Any more mixing around, and like you saw there, you'll see some red get dragged along and you'll lose the cool effect that you're creating. I did a whole video on this technique and I'll link that in the top right now if you want to see it, but I was worried that this mold here wouldn't have enough resin, so I dumped the excess of my little red color in there because if the lid doesn't have enough, it won't be able to latch onto things. And then I put the lids to each of the cap molds on each other, which will squeeze excess resin out on the side, which is good. You want to be able to have that excess resin. Now we're going to put all this inside my pressure pot. The pressure pot will help remove any of the bubbles that were still down in the resin, and after 12 hours, my dice are cured and good to go. We've got some really hard, cool looking dice here that almost look fiery, yet fey in nature. They're really magical, which isn't entirely what I'm going for, but I'm confident that the inking and the numbering will change the entire feel of these dice. All of the swirls came out as distinct and identifiable trails of color, which is exactly what I was looking for. Some of them could have used more of the color like the D20, but I still think it looks fantastic. Forge clerics are supposed to be the soul and the heart of the forge, so having these look like glowing or burning embers is really, really nice. The box itself came out looking fantastic. The box is actually done. As we pull it out of these molds, there's nothing that I'm going to do to this box or change in any way. You could sand this down to make certain parts of it flat if you wanted to, but honestly, I don't really think it's worth it, and you have more of a chance of messing up the dice box than you do actually fixing anything. The swirls and the clear portions of the bottom half of this box look so good. Whenever you can see it from the side, it looks like cathedral walls and columns that hold itself up made out of pure light and energy. I don't know. I'm just really into the bottom half of this box. Maybe I'll make a different lid to go with it one day, but I actually think combined, the lid looks really good. It almost looks like a roof to this Colosseum type look? I don't know, I like it. But just because we don't have to do anything to the dice box doesn't mean we don't have to do anything to the dice themselves. I get out a flat sheet of glass and some Zona polishing papers, which are essentially really high grit sandpaper, and knock off any of the excess resin that are on these dice, mostly just on the D20. And by the time we're done, we have a really glass-like polish on all of these dice. Now I'm a good sport, and I'm still going to give him the gray that he was looking for in these dice with the color Lead Belcher. I'm going to ink the numbers on these, and because it's a very dark color, you're going to see the entirety of the dice change as I wipe off the excess paint from the numbers, and now the whole dice looks completely different to me. Now it really feels like a glowing hot iron instead of just this fey red and gold. I'm going to take a paper towel with some alcohol on it to wipe off any of the excess paint to give us a really clear polish, and bada bing bada boom, these dice are done. And I gotta tell you, it takes a lot of practice and patience, but it's really nice to have this skill that I can share with my friends whenever I make them gifts. Okay, you're here to read for the part of Skillshare Transitions guy? That's me. Wait, aren't you the transitions guy? You look just like him. No, no, he's actually my twin brother. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But you should know, you're our triplet. Oh, yeah, you're right. I totally forget about that sometimes. Yeah. What? It's really making me feel bad for firing him. Don't even worry about it. Do you want me to read the line? Yes. Please, let's see if you can do what Big Brother can do. Did somebody say Skillshare? Yeah, you just don't have his gift. I don't know what you want me to say. I'm telling Mom! Thank you again to Skillshare for continuing to sponsor my videos for some reason. And if you haven't heard of Skillshare, they're an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators like you and me to explore their skills, deepen their passions, and get lost in that creativity. And you can try out all sorts of different things, like resin art, woodworking, or just gifts to give in general. And since they're always making new classes and there's no ads, you can really stay focused and follow your creativity without having to wait. They also have live classes, which is kind of like Twitch streaming, but for learning, which is really neato, and you can ask questions while you watch. And if you do try the service, I highly recommend checking out a class by SoCal Woodgal, like her beginner woodworking for handmade Christmas gifts. If you like the goofiness of my channel, she's exactly the same. She's so goofy and so funny. I would love to collaborate with her one day. So help me to help you, because the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring your creativity today. But enough about creativity. We're done with creativity. We're just looking at something that we've created now, which is this dice box and set of dice. I really love the windowed look on the sides to be able to look into these things. The whole box looks like just an ember or a flame, and being able to see the kind of iron look from the numbers of the dice on the inside is so freaking cool, and popping that top is just, I love it every time, and they sound good to boot. Uh-oh, but apparently these are cursed with nat ones, and I've honestly never been more happy. I'm giving these to my dungeon master. That means I'm gonna survive, y'all. I'm happy. I truly hope that he enjoys these dice, and I hope that you enjoyed watching me make them. I looked at all the comments from the last one where I made a gift for my friend, and you all said that you wanted to see more of those, even if I'm not doing anything new in a video. You just like seeing dice being made and having a purpose for making them. So I'm going to do a series where I make gifts for my friends slowly throughout the year, and eventually all my friends will have their own dice for each of their characters, which I think is a fun concept, and my ego will be boosted through the roof seeing everybody having to use my dice, though they will all blame me every time they get nat 1s. You know, somehow though, I don't think I'll get the credit whenever they get nat 20s. It's just an unfair world out there for a dice maker. If you had to make a set of dice using these techniques, cold casting and ectoplasmic swirls or trails, I don't know, that's what I called it in the previous video, what class combo would you make it for? This one is a Forge Cleric or DM because, you know, he forges a world. I thought it was kind of fitting in that sense. I'd love to hear about it in the comments, but either way, subscribe if you might want to see some more videos like this in the future. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you disliked it. I want to hear that too, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.